Good morning. My name is Scott Young, and I'm with Optrics Engineering. And of course, we have Sean Sturby, our Technical Services Manager. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Scott.
And this is another edition of the Optrics Insider. Today, we have two topics we wanted to discuss with you. The first one is the US recently came up with an executive order on cybersecurity. And then second is Microsoft fixes an Outlook email bug. Okay, let's start off with the US executive order on cybersecurity.
So President Biden has signed not a law, but an executive order that is going to hopefully improve the US government's stance on cybersecurity, because they are setting standards that all the software sold to the federal government will have to meet within 6 months a series of cybersecurity standards. So they're raising the bar, which is great. Now, it does say that the order establishes a number of additional things like an incident review board. One of the first things that they are going to review is the recent SolarWinds supply chain compromise. I would think that the Colonial Pipeline hack or problem will be another one that they'll have to review fairly quickly. Another thing that this order does is it mandates that federal agencies encrypt their data, both while it's being transmitted. So you're making a backup, you're sending it to a data center, it's encrypted as it's flowing, but it also mandates that they encrypt their data at rest while it's being stored. So the idea there is that even if somebody does hack into the network and grabs the data, if they don't have your key, they don't really have your data.
How do you anticipate the industry as a whole is able to meet those standards? Are they already meeting it, or is this something that the IT vendors are going to have to scramble to do?
There's going to be a bit of scrambling. There are already software and solutions in place for encrypting while it being transmitted. VPNs will do that quite nicely. It's the always encrypting the data at rest and still giving end users access to it. So there are some ways Microsoft has per person certificates that are able to decrypt the data that they have been given access to. So it's definitely doable, but this is for all software, not just Microsoft software that they use. Now,
just out of curiosity, when you say your data on your computer has to be constantly encrypted, I would imagine that puts a big strain on the resources of a computer, would it not?
It used to have a lot more impact, not so much nowadays with modern computers. They've gotten so much faster, and they do a lot of the encryption key stuff in hardware, dedicated hardware. So that happens actually pretty quick. If you've got a Windows computer, you can enable BitLocker. And BitLocker then encrypts all the data on either a hard drive or a partition, and it's completely transparent to you. Now, that would not satisfy this requirement, I don't think, because while it is encrypted, when the computer is up and running, it gives access to all of that data, right? You won't need access to your hard drive to be able to run Windows and edit your recipe book or whatever it is that you're using your computer for. What BitLocker protects you from is the situation where somebody steals your computer, pulls the hard drive out, and then tries to access the data on it. It's encrypted, you don't have the key, you don't get access to the data. So that's a physical theft. But across the network, if they've compromised somebody's computer and you've used that to get administrative privileges, and then from there reach out across the network and say, hey, Scott's computer, can you show me everything that's on the hard drive? Sure, here it is. And that would be unencrypted at that point.
Now, I remember you did a couple of stories a bunch of months ago about a Swiss company. There's a couple of Swiss companies which had a CIA ownership into it, and they were involved in cryptography, were they not?
Yeah, that was for the data in motion, or as it's being transmitted over the network. It was basically the same idea as a VPN. If we go from one site to another, that traffic has to be encrypted.
In theory, though, what you're saying is that this executive order is a positive thing. It'll involve some adapting to it, and then it'll be interesting to see if public organizations adopt the same thing, and this might just be the way everybody does it, because it sounds just a high level it makes sense.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how hackers adapt to it. If they go, okay, well, we're going to do all these phishing attempts, and there's lots going on these days, especially surrounding COVID and pandemic related emails. But and then they'll go, oh, we got access, but now we can't do anything with the data that we have access to. It'll be interesting to see how they're going to react to it. So it's like cat and mouse, I guess.
Yep. And they're very motivated.
Yes.
The data might be very important to you and very valuable to you, but it's worth millions to them.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Anything else on our first topic about the executive order?
It is nice that this, even though it's not a law, the order is focused on information sharing and transparency, so that when something happens, when a company has been victimized or discovers a vulnerability, they can share that information with the rest of the government or the cybersecurity community, and it will hopefully resolve or make it easier and speedier to get the compromise fixed.
Good. Okay, let's move on. Our last topic, our second topic here, is Microsoft fixes an Outlook email bug. Outlook, of course, being something that I'm not going to say almost everybody uses, but I know Gmail is popular. But if you are checking your email on your computer with a desktop application, chances are you are using Outlook.
Correct. Yes. Especially anybody who's with Office or Microsoft 365, you get both the cloud and the desktop version of Outlook. So this actually happened last week, that Microsoft released a bunch of fixes for various different programs, including Outlook. And one of those fixes made it interesting for people. And I've seen it a number of times myself, where the email client, Outlook, would just not show the contents of the email. The draft would disappear. So this information is still there, and it's not that you've got white text on a white background or anything like that. It's just not showing anything. So Microsoft figured out that it was a Patch Tuesday bug fix that created an additional bug, and they were very prompt to go out and issue another fix for the previous fix. So what this highlights is that you might not want to be on the bleeding edge. There was a very good article in the Ask Woody newsletter where it talks about all of these issues, and then says you can check to see which version of Office you are on. And there are actually a number of different channels. So you download the Office install, but you might not know if you're on the current channel or the 6-month delayed release, the semi-annual enterprise channel, as it's called. And the article did have a lot of good information on how to check for that and how to make sure that you are not on the beta tester channel.
So if, just to help anybody listening to this, what would you recommend then if people are, even with their home computers and they use Outlook, should they be running making sure they're running the latest updates?
Well, they still get the latest security updates. What this does is it just puts them on a short delay to get the latest beta features. So they're still going to be secure and up to date. They're just going to be on the stable branch versus the unstable. So that's what we would recommend, is that while it's, some people, IT people quite often are going to be in the, beta testing, I want the latest and greatest so I can get up to speed on it, so that when people ask me, hey, can I do X, Y, Z with Outlook or Excel? Not yet, but in 3 months you can, when we get the update rolled out to you. They're going to have it, but the semi-annual channel is the one that is stable. This is for the companies that literally run their entire company on Outlook and Excel, and if it breaks, they could be losing millions of dollars, so they need to be on the stable branch.
Gotcha. Okay. Anything else you'd like to share about that?
No, that's it.
Okay. Thank you, Sean. So to recap, we talked about the recent US executive order on cybersecurity, which is going to be bringing in some very much needed, I don't want to say reforms, but requirements, at least with the US government on software that they are going to be using. And the second is Microsoft fixes an Outlook email bug. Perfect. Thank you, Sean. As always, if you enjoyed today's episode, please like, share, and subscribe, and leave a comment and smash that subscribe button for sure. Much appreciated. All right. Thank you, Sean. Once again, have a great week. Have a great week, everyone. We'll see you again. Bye for now.
Bye.